Hi there, I'm Miriam. Welcome to Miriam's Manor. I would love to share with you what I have learned about my three favorite hobbies: gardening, home decor, and literally everything Christmas. I would also love to hear your tips and learn from you as well. Let's learn together. Good morning. Welcome to Miriam's Manor again. Today we are going to be talking about gardening and how and why I got started. So, I wanted to plant a vegetable garden about 8 years ago. My old house, we did not have the space, and our backyard was already done. So, it was really not the best time. But it was a passion that never left. And so finally, when we moved into our new home, my husband and I just designated a garden space for me. So I am a complete novice when it comes to gardening. It is a passion, absolutely, but also definitely a learning process. I've never known anyone who has gardened before, so I've learned a lot by trial and error. And so just want to share some of that with you and also get some of your tips. I originally bought some really cheap garden beds off of OfferUp when I first got started because I wanted to make sure this was something that I would be able to have success with. And before I created a permanent garden space in my yard, I wanted to know I could actually grow things. So this is a big deal because today marks year one since I started gardening. And I've had a lot of success and a lot of downfalls. So it has definitely been a process. So let me take you over to my original garden space so you can check that out. So these were my original beds. And as you can see, they are all busted up now. Again, I just went and bought some really cheap beds, but one of the mistakes that I learned is if you don't use good solid wood and a good build, the weight of the soil will tear it apart, as you can see and hear. This one busted open as well. My husband actually rigged it for me and put some straps on it so that it would hold and stay together. I have since transplanted almost everything out of this garden and bed into my new permanent space. And same with this space as well. I grew carrots and this is Brussels sprouts. So I'm not going to transplant this into the permanent garden. I'm just gonna leave this here until I harvest it and then be done with this bed entirely. I've got one little carrot baby left in here, but we've harvested all of the rest of the carrots at this point. And these babies are the rest of my tomato plants that I have not yet transplanted. I wanted to make sure when I pulled them up out of the soil and I put them in the pots, I wanted to make sure that they were going to stay healthy and that I didn't damage the root system too much, because again, being a novice gardener, when I planted these things, I planted them way too close together, and so the root systems were all intertwined on all of these, including the ones that I've already transplanted in the back. So they have been in these pots now for about 7 to 10 days, so they are looking good. So I will get these back into the garden sometime soon. And then these little babies are romaine lettuce, and then the kale. My kale, the kids come out here all the time and just pick a piece off and go wash it and eat it. I can never grow like a full big head because they're always picking on it, but that was the whole point of doing this. So it's pretty awesome that my kiddos actually just eat it plain. So that was my original garden space. And again, I made a ton of mistakes when I first got started. I planted the wrong things out of season, not looking things up first. I just got a bunch of seed and started planting. And then when everything died that summer, I was dumbfounded, like, I took such great care of these things, but they were fall plants and not summer plants. So I have taken care to make sure that I'm now planting my seeds in the right season. The one thing I am really upset about, I seeded my cucumber plants back in February. It is May 21st. So I planted my cucumber seeds February. They came up beautifully. Big green leaves, so leafy and deep green. And in a matter of a week, they died. They were up to about 10 to 12 inches and beginning to flower, both flowers, the female and the male. And so now I have no cucumbers to transplant. I did seed about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, new cucumber plants, but it's kind of late in the year in Arizona. So I'm hoping that these little cucumber babies will survive and make it. I'm kind of doing an experiment where I've got half of them in my house near a sunny window and the other two outside to see how they do and see which one ends up taking off. My thought process is I will keep some of them inside to see if I can let them get big enough before I transplant them, and kind of condition them to go before I transplant them and see if they will survive the Arizona summer. Or I put a few out here just to see, like, if they're already seeded and they're babies, if they'll make it. So let's go back to my new garden space so I can show you that and show you what I've got started back there so far. So this is my new garden space. It is halfway done and I am so excited because this is half of the vision that I had when I wanted my garden space. My husband, for Mother's Day this year, put up my arbor and my picket fence. We are just still doing projects in our backyard, so we've still got a lot going on in progress. But my husband built me these garden beds about 2 months ago, and I absolutely love them. Eventually, I will have 2 more beds, one over here and then one in the middle here, and then about 2 feet of walk space between each bed. But I'm super excited to have my permanent space back here. This is my basil that I transplanted from my other beds that I showed you before, and so far most of it is looking really good and survived the transplant pretty well. I don't have any soil in this part yet. I still have to get some. But this is my bell pepper. This is my very first pepper plant that I've gotten to this size, so I'm really excited. It did flower and I do see some little buds there, so I'm really hoping that it will fruit soon. This is a globe tomato plant, and as you can see, it is beginning to fruit. And then these are my Rio Grande tomato plants. So I did a better job with spacing them this time. They're about 18 inches apart than when I planted the first time. So I'm hoping that'll help with the size of my tomatoes and allow their root systems to grow a little bit. With these, I also did a better job of like pruning off the lower stems when I transplanted and planted them a little bit deeper so that it would develop a better root system. But if any of you guys can help me out there, because this is about the size, just a little bit larger, of all of my Rio Grande tomatoes that I'm getting from my tomato plants. I've been able to harvest about a dozen so far, but they still are on the smaller size. So if you have any tips for me of how I can actually grow them larger, I just recently started using a mixture of gypsum, bone meal, and fertilizer to amend the soil. So I'm hoping that that will help in the next few weeks and see a difference, but I'll keep you posted and let you know. And then these are the two little cucumber babies that I put out here. So I just pray that they will do well and take off. I'm going to eventually put, I've got these stakes in here because I'm going to put some cattle panel in and arch it up and over this way so that as the cucumber plant grows, it can trellis up and over. And these are my sweet potatoes, which I will also eventually put on a trellis. These things are definitely thriving. When I seeded these, or excuse me, when I transplanted these, like this one was only about like this big right here. So all of this new growth has happened in the last like 3 weeks. So they are looking really good. I actually need to get the cattle panels in here pretty soon to create the trellis so that all the leaves aren't getting waterlogged in the soil. But I'm hoping to harvest a lot of good sweet potatoes. So that is it so far. I still have quite a bit of things to transplant that I have seeded in the house. So hopefully by next week, I will get those in the ground and show you all how I transplant. And I'll see you next week. If this video has been helpful to you, please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell icon. See you next time.